First off, I want to thank you taking your time to come here to the live stream for Darcrus. Um, get some quick things, news, some information, maybe some explanations about some things about the direction we're going to go as a development team, so we can put forth the best product, so we can get our product out and used. Gravity is very powerful. It has a ton of use cases, a bunch of features, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So I did want to let y'all know that I am super happy, super excited to be doing this. So I got to switch back and forth from one screen to the other. So if you see me kind of pause, it's because I'm swapping back to see if you have any questions. So when I first came, when the blog post first came out about the potential for Darcus and Mercury to be swapped into a new blockchain token, new coin. There were a lot of concerns about swap rates, you know, discussion about what would be fair, what wouldn't be fair. We're gonna. I'm not gonna go through all of those direct questions. I've kind of generalized feedback and responses, so we'll go through some of those. If I don't make any sense, pop a question into the chat, and I'll scroll back over. So the big thing is I could never, we couldn't accurately calculate if someone missed the Mercury airdrop, nor could we calculate when someone bought Darkers or bought Mercury. If we take the price of Darkers when somebody bought into account, what would the people do that bought Mercury at a higher rate? Should we have compensated them somehow? So it was really impossible to calculate how to accurately reward everybody across the spectrum when we would swap Darkers for the coin name, which maybe another project for a different day, pet project somewhere else, some down the line. So everybody that was going to swap Mercury and Darkers, they would have all gotten 1-to-1 ratio. There were some ideas floated about rewarding a certain amount of, if you had, 15,000 Darkers, you would have gotten enough for a master node, and a master node would have cost 50,000 of the new tokens. So it's kind of an incentive to hold more. But when all said and done, Waves reached out to me. One of the developers contacted me in a couple different places, and they have put forth a proposal for Waves. And instead of deleting the ability to pay for transactions with assets, they want to be able, they're going to put up for vote on their blockchain to create a sponsored account. And that would keep the ability to pay transactions with Mercury. So a sponsored account, real quick, is essentially the creator of a token puts Waves into that account. And then when people use their token, for this case, Mercury, when you guys would use Mercury, when we use Mercury to process Waves transactions, Mercury goes to that account, and then that account sponsors the transaction and pays the Wave fee. So it's a win for everybody, in my opinion, because it keeps Mercury on what is currently the fastest blockchain in production, which is Waves, using the Waves NG protocol. And it also gives us, it refocuses our development efforts back into Metis, which is our decentralized messaging platform we're building. We can continue to improve on Gravity and package that up for release. The documents, the videos, those things that we've been working on, we kind of had to put the brakes on for a month while we figured out what we were going to do. But being able to stay on Waves presents very good capability feature set for us to keep. That was a really rough way to say. Waves heard some of the grumblings in their community and listened. So in the comments when I'm done, I'll put the sponsored transactions proposal that they sent me to read. The proposal is very active and it's well supported within the community and their development team. Speaking with Alexi, the feature could be released in mainnet as early as May, although it could be in their July release. They've kind of moved to a 2-month release cycle for mainnet releases. So they were kind of inundating the ecosystem with too many releases too quickly. So they're going to release larger and have a little bit of a longer cycle. The Waves nodes will, of course, vote, and I think they'll pass it because it's a big win for them. They get waves, and we get more transactions. We continue to push transactions. If you look at the transactions, Mercury is twice as many transaction as the next closest asset. So that is a very good sign, and it's very good that they listen to one of the largest projects on their entire blockchain. So the sponsored account would receive the transaction fees from all the cross-pollination timestamping and the future Metis messaging system, as well as another feature we'll talk about in a few minutes. So there are some options that could be discussed at a future date for what would happen to the Mercury that's kind of stacks up in this account. We've not fully vetted all of the options we've come up with, and of course, this may be something where we pay bounties out of that Mercury, or there's a bunch of different things we could do. So, of course, we'll look to you guys again, maybe for some feedback, maybe some fresh ideas. So that kind of gives you a quick rundown of the swap rate discussion, and what the tokens are going to stay on Waves for now. So I say for now. Things can change at a moment's notice, and we'll have to revisit this. But from what my discussions with the Waves team, this is a very well vetted, well supported idea in their ecosystem. So I said, okay, we're going to go ahead and stay and build products that integrate Waves and Mercury transaction fees into our products. And they gave me the North and South, which in the military is yes. That we're going to continue to push forward and make sure that their supporters, which are the projects that ride their chain, are supported in their protocol. So no. So you'll hear what happens to DAR in just a moment. Yes, Mercury and Darcrus will stay on Waves. Nothing will be swapped. So I'm going to go. There are a couple questions I'm going to grab that were not swap based related, and then we'll go into what's going to happen with Darcrus and Mercury and a couple other things. So just bear with me. So got a question. It was said, hey Sigwo, are you still in touch with the DoD? That was something DAR holders were looking forward to, and how are the sales of your product going? And I said, I have been in touch with a DoD firm to discuss the blockchain in general. They had one of their guys researching Ethereum, and they realized that Ethereum doesn't protect the information the way they needed it to. They being Ethereum doesn't have built-in encryption and decryption in their protocol like Jupiter does. So I've kind of gave them a background information on what Jupiter can do, what Gravity can do, and I've known them for quite some time. So probably I'll revisit them probably after we release Gravity. So kind of dancing around that. But yes, have been in contact with them. Back last year, we were going to do a demonstration for the Doolittle Institute, and then I got orders to deploy, so that took up most of 2017. I have not rescheduled any demonstration with them, and I don't have any current scheduled demos. I said this when I didn't have any scheduled demos. I actually am doing a proposal for another project. So, and then the C3 Technologies partnership, it kind of went bust due to the deployment I didn't get to stay in touch with them as much as I would like to have, and um, I don't think they were as gung ho as they thought they were. And general development work on the Gravity product was hindering showing what it could do. I can explain it until I'm blue in the face, but people want to see it, and we were still building it. So, and I didn't want to show somebody a half baked product. That only half of it was on the blockchain, and we had to do some things off the blockchain, which was basically Gravity alpha. We stored the Google two-factor authentication token, basically the hey it is protected or hey it's not protected in a Mongo database. That's no longer the case, and we'll get to that as well. There's been a ton of interest. Like I said, I've talked to a lot of people in passing and on the internet, and in different groups and in person about how it can work, why it can work, and what kind of things it would prevent. But Gravity not being 100% complete has been a huge roadblock. That's going to change very soon. Gravity itself is ready. It is at a minimum viable product with Google two-factor authentication built in, and we'll get to that more of what it can and can't do here in a little bit. I've got a couple other questions to go through, and then we'll kind of wrap back around to Gravity. And somebody had asked if there's a sales team established already. No, there is not a sales team because, like I said, there's not been really anything to sell quite yet. So that being said, I have people that want to be salespeople for me. I can't bring them on yet with nothing to sell. And then I asked, should we have used or could we use Darcrus as a lockup or payment token for Jupiter and use Mercury for the utility of the cross-pollination and transaction fee token? So with the new waves proposal, this is the way we see things now. Mercury and Darcrus can exist together and both have its own use case. So instead of Mercury as the lockup token for Jupiter, to get those coins to run their Gravity app, Darcrus is going to serve that payment function. So when Jupiter is needed for your Gravity app, which Gravity is open source, Jupiter is open source. All of both of those features that are quote unquote needed to run a Gravity app are open source. To power the blockchain aspect of the Gravity app, you need Jupiter tokens. So, like any other usage-based coin out there, you need to have some of those to make the application work. So the way you do that is you buy Jupiter tokens. So, say it and think of it like buying a Microsoft Windows license key. By purchasing Jupiter, you're buying licenses for each transaction on your application. So Jupiter tokens are not publicly available. They're not publicly traded. They're not on any exchange. And they are locked to a USD rate. So for an example, and I want to reiterate, for an example, say each transaction on Jupiter is going to cost a tenth of a penny. So when you go to buy Jupiter tokens, you're going to use Darcrus to buy the Jupiter, and Jupiter will, and basically you're gonna say, hey, I think I need 1,000,000 transactions. I think I need 1,000 transactions. I just want to play with it to make sure it's something I want to use. So you spend $1, you get 1,000 transactions, and that'll be enough to play with the application. When you need to re-up or refill your transaction amount, you simply go back to the payment server, you send more Darcrus in, you get more Jupiter back to your account, and everything is just fine. Um, so the one of the reasons we are not fully releasing gravity right now is because we literally just finished the payment server 2 hours ago. I sent a payment through, watched the swap happen, and received the Jupiter tokens just as we were supposed to get. So everything works fine, works perfect. I got my Jupiter tokens in about 45 seconds from sending from Waves into the application, and then it spit out my Jupiter on the other end. So it's very fast. It's very cost effective. Looking at other blockchains and other types of information encryption and storage, a tenth of a penny, which is purely an example. I don't want anybody to get wrapped around the axle of a tenth of a penny per transaction. That may be what it is. It may not be what it is. I just needed something to kind of demonstrate what I'm thinking, what we're doing. I don't. So I scrolled back over just to kind of check what you guys are saying. I don't know who is pumping Darcrus. I'm here talking to you. So the people Yes. So right now, people that want to use Jupiter would need to buy Darkers from the Wave decks. But now that more Darkers has a clearly defined utilization, I will begin asking other exchanges to list Darkers. Um, that is just something that we want to do now. So the clients that come to Sigwo Technologies they won't ever do that. They will never have to worry about Darcrus or transactions or any of that thing. That is more along the lines of your antivirus subscription. You don't worry about how many viruses it cleans. You just worry about paying the subscription fee every month, year, or whatever it is, and it takes care of everything. So when a client comes to me and they say, "Hey, we want you to build this for us. Um, here's your money. Here's the X, Y, and Z." What they get is they get the backend Jupiter account built and supported from the Sigwo Technologies team. So as for complexity of clients, they'll never know that any of that happens. And before anybody asks, no, we're not going to take client money that they pay us to buy Darkers to in turn swap through the swapper, because that could be misconstrued, or put in a gray area of a singular entity controlling, taking outside profits and pulling them in, and putting them being the Darkers into an account because they're paying for the licensing and all that stuff. So basically, Darkers is being used by independent projects that don't need Sigwo Technologies to help build their Gravity app, because when you guys see how easy it is to build Gravity, you're going to be blown away. It literally takes 5 minutes to go from a base Linux server to a fully functional decentralized application in 5 minutes. It's easy. So who will be buying Darkers is anybody that wants to build a decentralized application. So people that don't know how to build a Solidity contract and worry about funding these things with Ethereum, all of those things, they don't have to worry about. They don't have the cost that's built in that, or the specialized programming knowledge, because Gravity is built in React.js, and React is what Facebook uses. So I mean, it is a very well-known application. I'm sorry, application language. It does not need a crypto uh, developer to build an application, because it is literally in React.js. So that gives it the ease and adaptability, and the people that um, want to build any type of decentralized application can very easily. Um, so that kind of answers the who will be buying Darkers to get Jupiter. People that want to build a decentralized application. So a couple of quick ideas would be, sorry, I was reading this question. So a couple of ideas would be, there's a lot of groups that you know track investments, pre-IPO money, or pre-sales, or whatever you want to call it. So they could have a decentralized application that locks those funds together, and the person that's running the allocation can see everybody's allocation, but other people can't see anybody else's allocation. So it keeps all the data secured, encrypted, and only readable by the person that's supposed to be reading it. Another one is, a mining operation. Um, they want to do an operation like CoinSplit.io. So if you look at CoinSplit.io, we can build a database that's we can build an application that uses Jupyter to decentralize that production. The coins coming in, the allocation, the payments. There's no database of payments. It's just strictly on the blockchain. It's all encrypted. So if anybody stole the database, nobody can read it. There is no accidental, oops, we lost the database and now we're not going to pay you because we don't know who was supposed to be paid what. Because you can't delete the database. It's a blockchain. So unless you find all of the nodes, you can't delete it. Um, healthcare records, Equifax that hack, all of your information, or at least us in the United States. Our information was just in a database, and the hackers got in and they could steal it. They can't get to the data inside a Jupyter based application, which is Gravity. So that's who would be buying Darcrus. People that want to take advantage of stuff, people that want to build applications on Ethereum now. We show them this and how easy it is to build it, and it comes with Bootstrap for front end. So it's already got a front end on it. So if you really want to just be about what the data is that you're storing, the information that you're storing, you don't do anything except for just start it. It's very easy. So I'll go to scroll back over to kind of the questions we had from the other day, just to kind of go through what I really wanted to hit. So I know that I've hit all of the information that I needed to put out. And then I can kind of look at the chat and discuss any questions that come up. So we kind of went over what the Darcrus does. So Darcrus is going to buy Jupyter, just like you're buying a Microsoft license. You're buying licenses for the use of Gravity. Mercury, it continues to be the token that cross-pollinates the information from Jupyter or any other private blockchain that Jupyter spins off, because some companies have come to me and asked, well, how can we just make sure that our nodes only talk to our nodes? That's easy. It takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes to spin those Jupyter nodes up, create the Genesis block, and start, pushing their transactions on their blockchain. But their nodes will still cross-pollinate with Mercury. And that's, one of those things that's just driven by Sigwo Technologies and the ability to always have block hashes of the chains published to Waves, which is the public blockchain usage. So, and then the future application Metis, the really cool thing that we've figured out and now we're building is we figured out how to have a decentralized chat room using records. Basically, we'll have an app creator, which would be the Gravity app creator, and then you would go to this Gravity application, which the Gravity application, you go to a server, but if the server for some reason dies, you just there's like 3 files, which we'll go into later when I tell you when you'll go into it. There's only like 3 files you need to stand that server up again, which is just the front end part, and you're right back like you never lost anything, because all of the information that is actually stored is on the blockchain. The Gravity app is just the interface between the blockchain itself and presenting its GUI interface to users. So users that wanted to use this particular chat room would sign up at the Gravity app, and it could be Steven's chat. And there's 50 people that sign up. Those 50 people would be able to discuss, talk about whatever they want to talk about. And their conversation is written in the blockchain. It's encrypted in the blockchain. And if you needed to, you can pull the data, the provenance data, to say, hey, this block was on this chain at this time, and here's the message. And you can just give one message at a time to somebody if you need to, without giving them any other information about the Metis app, or the passphrase, or the protection, Google two-factor authentication. Nothing, you don't have to give anybody any information except for that link, and then they get to see that one message. So, that's good for auditing purposes. That those types of messaging systems. Of course, there's other reasons to have encrypted messaging for groups. So Mercury's use cases, they stay the same. We continue to build products that use Mercury for transactional fees. We continue to build on top of Gravity more use cases and more capabilities. And so nothing needs to be swapped. Darcrus stays the same. Mercury stays the same. Mercury stays on Bittrex. There are, token wise, there is nothing changing. The main change is Darcrus can be used for buying the Jupiter tokens to power your Gravity apps. Somebody asked, which I think I saw it when I scrolled back and forth, if the software is free, which Gravity is open sourced, they would just need to buy some of the token to be locked. So then they would just basically buy Darcrus and send it into the swap, or into the payment mechanism, into the payment server, swap server, payment server, however you want to say it, and you're going to get Jupiter back. And I've kind of already went over this paragraph, and basically it says, if they need consultation, if they don't have on-site staff that can build it or don't want to build it, that's where we, Sigwo Technologies, would come in. We would give them the consultation. They would pay us for the service, for the consultation, the application, the development, and the deployment in dollars or BTC. And then we would, service their application. We could give them a demonstration, and they go, hey, you know what? It's written in React. We can figure this out. And then they would go, I would say, okay, well, if you go about this on your own, here's how you go to self-serve licensing for yourself, which you buy Darcrus, you send it to the payment server, and they get Jupiter tokens. So it's basically an online e-commerce site now, but it only has right now one function, to take Darcrus and give out Jupiter tokens. That gives the ability for any developer to completely bypass Sigwo Technologies, build a rockstar project, and still need to use Darcrus for the Jupiter tokens for the application. So none of this is reliant on Sigwo Technologies doing anything besides continuing to develop the platform, the Gravity platform, and just to generally give information on the new things that we've built into Gravity. So just like any other project, there's no, Darcrus will do better if Sigwo Technologies does better, or vice versa. If Sigwo Technologies does really bad, Darcrus is going to do bad. There's no linkage between these two entities anymore. Darcrus is Darcrus. It pays for Jupiter tokens, and all of those base platforms are open sourced. So, and then somebody else asked, scroll back over, new chance. Okay, so I'm going back over the chat real quick before I go to the other one, or finish up on the other side. Soft fork to do waves and use our own nodes. We discussed that. Right now, I don't think there's a need to do that. I think the sponsored transactions are going to give us the capabilities that we need, and gives capabilities and support for the people that want to build projects on top of their chain. Um, Cecil Martin. So there will be two ways to get into Jupiter. One is a regular client. Yep. And correct. So there are two ways to get the Jupiter tokens. You buy Darcrus, you pay for Jupiter through the payment server, or Sigwo Technologies builds, develops, and deploys the application, and they get a flat rate fee um, for their Jupiter tokens. And so there's one software, the name escapes me right this second. Um, ArcSight. ArcSight, when you buy an ArcSight appliance, you have to buy licensing dependent on how many messages it parses. So it can be viewed the exact same way. Uh, you buy Jupiter for how many messages you want to send to the blockchain. Um, what happens to the Darcrus that the second option developers paid? So there are two types of people in the world. One that can extrapolate data from incomplete data. So buying Jupiter would be the only use case for Darcrus. For right now, that's the major use case. There's Darcrus. I actually tested this the other day. Darcrus can actually be used on the blockchain of Waves right now for transactions. There are two larger nodes that take Darcrus for transactions. That was not ever something I really petitioned for. But it could be, if something, if we want to have another use case for Darkers, I think Darkers being used to buy Jupiter is a pretty solid use case for now. And I think when people really see what gravity can do, I think they're going to be some adoption of this platform. So no, so I'm not going, so I, being Sigwo Technologies won't be buying Darkers from the market using customers' funds that comes to me. So if they come to me, I'm not going to buy Darkers because that could be viewed in the future or now as a company restricting the supply of something to make it more valuable. So go back to the extrapolate from incomplete data. I can't do that. When someone buys DAR for Jupiter, what happens to the DAR? I just kind of explained that. So you're going to have to think about it for a minute. So the next question I have over here, I'm going to grab a drink. Thirsty. So the next one was, the industry is changing so fast. I'm wondering how you're going to be competitive on the technology side after a year. What are your new plans to be competitive? So my answer to this is Gravity is a deployable decentralized application that can be deployed in 5 to 10 minutes from start to finish. It has a GUI. It's a blockchain database. It has tables that are customized using simple JSON formatting, and it has two-factor authentication built in into the application. This is if you go around and you look at what people want to see from a blockchain application, that's it. I mean, they need to see a GUI, they need a blockchain database, they need tables that can be customized, and they need two-factor authentication. That's, I mean, that is the meat and potatoes of what Gravity is and what Gravity can do. I think this is a great product. I think we've worked really hard, and I think we've done a great job at getting Gravity to what it is now. And I think it's time that everybody else gets to see it as well. If I may, I announce that the beta version of Gravity will be released open source to the community on the 1st of May. That is a long time coming. I am ecstatic to say those words in live and to other people besides just my team. we have, and the reason it took so long is because before I told anybody that it was going to be released, I wanted everything done. So now, yeah, we have to wait a little bit, but Gravity is fully complete. The payment server is complete. The GUI for it is complete. The two-factor authentication is complete. Um, you all know what we're doing with Darcrus and Mercury now, so the community is now well aware of what's going to happen and how to get the tokens to power these applications. The documentation is complete on how to build this stuff. The technical documentation for how the framework behind the Gravity app is built and why it's built that way, and how to manipulate it to expand for your own application if you need to, if you see, you know, uh, an API call that it could be used that we're just not using yet, how to build into the Gravity app to take advantage of all of the things we've already done. Uh, the video, we have a full length video that shows from cradle to deployment and operation for a Gravity application. Um, everything that I know that people have asked for of other projects, something that says, "Oh, cool, we have something that's really cool, but I don't know how to work it," or it's not commented well, it's not documented well. And then there's a lot of questions about just basic operation of how to make the platform work. So I kind of, took it upon the team to say, okay, everybody set this up, write down your questions, what we didn't understand. So we went through, from fresh VMs uh, to installing Gravity apps, and then, okay, we got it, start over. So we've done a lot of testing, we've done a lot of installation and deletion, and installation and deletion, back and forth. A lot of questions have already been asked. I'm sure you guys have a ton of questions um, that are Gravity based. So next Tuesday, same time, I'm going to have another video, and it's going to be centered around Gravity and documentation. And if I can talk my team into letting me, uh, possibly pushing our video about Gravity, um, because I want you guys to be able to read the documentation, um, to get excited about what you can do and start being creative with what kind of things you can build on top of this. Um, I'll go ahead when we're done. I'll put the link. Actually, I'll go ahead and put it in the chat so you guys can see it. Hang on just a second. Let me copy and paste. But I'll put this in the comments as well. Uh, that's the proposal that kind of spurred us to stay on Waves. Um, I'm just reading the question that Martin asked again. I answered it as well as I could. So extrapolate. Um, we have let's see. So the link kind of just go over what we kind of talked about. Um, no, there's no swapping. Mercury staying, Darcus is staying. Darcus is being used to buy Jupiter tokens. The licensing for each transaction for Gravity applications. Um, you know, the Waves blockchain will continue to build out and scale out, just as well as we will continue to build Gravity. The framework for Gravity, and CSS, anybody can build a Gravity app and make it look as different or as alike as they want, because Bootstrap is very customizable. It's easy to customize. Um, and a lot of projects have been trying. They've asking about two-factor authentication protection, these decentralized applications that they're floating around. Um, we think we've done a really good job. We will be able to focus on building those capabilities out further. because we don't have to, maintain a new blockchain. We don't have to do all the coordination. There's so many steps that are not have to be done anymore because we are going to stay on waves because they have, compromised with with their proposal. Um, so that's really all I have to put out. There's a blog post that kind of wraps this discussion up. So if you couldn't tell, I was kind of going off of a bulleted list. So we'll take this bulleted list, and it'll be on the blog probably in the next few hours. Um, let's see. So H3, hard to feel optimistic about DAR still right now. I sorry to hear that. I don't. I'm very optimistic because when people that have been looking for decentralized applications that are easy to build, uh, you know, this is going to be the easiest decentralized application to spin out and build. And when people see it, um, they're going to want to use it. They're going to want to build it, and I'm ready for you guys to see how easy it is. The entire video with Kyle doing probably a 2-minute introduction is 11 minutes long, from you know installing curl on a fresh Ubuntu install to showing you how to save data and information into the Gravity app. It's 11 minutes long. It is really cool. I'm excited. I do apologize. You're not excited because of whatever reason. Um, but when someone buys Jupiter with Dark, so Max, you're gonna have to think with Martin and extrapolate. Uh, that's all I have. I don't see any more questions. If you have any questions, I'll wait a few more seconds, grab a drink, and if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. All right. I think I was more quiet than I thought I was going to be, but so of course I'll always be around in the Discord chat, in the Telegram chat. Um, if I can. Oh, so before I get off, next Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or the same time as we did today, we'll do another hangout. I'm gonna try to figure out how to screen share. Yeah, I know, right? I don't know how to screen share. But if I can figure out how to screen share, we'll go through some of the Gravity uh, look-sees, I guess. See how it looks, see how it works, and just kind of give you an overview of it. It's uh, it's going to be really cool. So I appreciate you guys showing up. Catch you later.